Suddenly, the woman in white appeared again. Her face was grim, her eyes glowing with a power I had not seen before. She stood between Shango and Zeus, her voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. "You are both fools," she shouted, her voice echoing across the battlefield. "Do you not see? Your pride is what is feeding the darkness. It is your hatred for each other that is keeping the breach open." Shango and Zeus stopped in their tracks, their eyes narrowing as they looked at her. "The Creator did not send you here to fight each other," she continued, her voice filled with an urgency that made my heart race. "He sent you here to work together. Only by combining your powers, by setting aside your differences, can you hope to defeat the darkness." For a moment, neither god spoke. The tension between them was palpable, their rivalry still simmering beneath the surface. But then, slowly, Shango lowered his axe. Zeus followed suit, his thunderbolt dimming as he looked at the breach. The woman was right. Their pride had blinded them, had kept them from seeing the truth. The darkness was feeding off their conflict, growing stronger with every moment they allowed their hatred to control them. "We have no choice," Shango muttered, his voice low and filled with frustration. "We must work together." Zeus nodded, though his expression was still tense. "Agreed, but do not mistake this for friendship." With that, they turned their attention back to the breach. The Guardians, sensing the shift in their enemies, lunged forward, their weapons raised. But this time, Shango and Zeus were ready. They moved in perfect harmony, their powers combining in a way that I had never seen before. Shango's thunder roared through the skies, and Zeus' lightning struck with deadly precision. Together, they unleashed a storm the likes of which the world had never seen. The air crackled with energy, the ground trembled beneath their feet, and the very fabric of reality seemed to buckle under the force of their combined might. The Guardians faltered, their forms flickering as the storm tore through them. They tried to fight back, but they were no match for the united power of Shango and Zeus. With one final strike, Shango brought his axe down on the spear-wielding Guardian, shattering its form into 1,000 pieces. At the same time, Zeus hurled a bolt of lightning at the sword-wielding Guardian, disintegrating it in an explosion of light. The battlefield fell silent. The darkness that had once filled the sky began to recede, the breach slowly closing as the power of Shango and Zeus overwhelmed it. The twisted creatures that had poured from the darkness vanished, their forms dissolving into nothingness. It was over, or so we thought. The silence that followed the battle was unnerving. The darkness that had once threatened to consume the world was slowly receding, the breach shrinking as the combined power of Shango and Zeus pushed it back. For a moment, it seemed like the worst had passed, but deep down, I knew that this was not the end. As the village fell quiet, people began to emerge from their homes, their eyes wide with a mixture of awe and fear. They had witnessed the power of gods, forces beyond their understanding, and for a brief moment, hope began to flicker in their hearts, but it was a fragile hope, one that could be snuffed out at any moment. Shango and Zeus stood at the center of the clearing, their chests heaving with exertion. Though they had defeated the Guardians of the Darkness, their expressions were far from victorious. There was something still lingering in the air, something unseen but palpable. The breach had not fully closed, and the storm clouds above continued to swirl ominously. Zeus was the first to break the silence, his voice cold and grim. "It's not over." Shango nodded, his grip still tight on his axe. Below, this was only the beginning. As if on cue, the sky above the breach rippled, and from the swirling mass of darkness, a figure began to emerge. Unlike the shadowy creatures that had come before, this being was different, taller, more solid, and radiating an aura of pure malice. Its form was vaguely humanoid, but it was wrapped in a cloak of darkness so thick that it seemed to absorb all light around it. Its eyes glowed with an unnatural red light, and in its hands, it carried a staff, its surface etched with ancient runes that pulsed with dark energy. I could feel the terror ripple through the crowd as the figure stepped forward. This was no mere creature of the dark. This was something far more powerful, an ancient force, a forgotten god, perhaps, or something even older. The woman in white appeared once more, her expression grave. "This is the true source of the darkness," she said, her voice trembling slightly for the first time. "It is an ancient being, older than the gods themselves. It was sealed away long ago, but the breach has given it the opportunity to return." Shango's eyes narrowed as he stepped forward, his axe glowing with the energy of a brewing storm. "And how do we destroy it?" The woman shook her head. "You cannot destroy it. It is not like the Guardians you fought before. This being is a manifestation of the darkness itself. To defeat it, you must banish it back to the void from which it came. But that will not be easy. It feeds on conflict, on pride, on anger. It will try to turn you against each other. Zeus snorted, his thunderbolt crackling in his hand. Let it try. But I could see the unease in his eyes. This was not an ordinary foe. And deep down, Zeus knew that this would be their greatest challenge yet. The figure of Darkness stepped forward, its voice low and deep, like the rumble of an earthquake. You cannot win, it said, its words dripping with malice. I have seen the hearts of men, the hearts of gods. You are all weak, driven by your own desires, your own arrogance. You think you can work together, but in the end, you will tear each other apart.